Hello and welcome. I'm Joe Harper. My guest today is Gavin Gulia, who's the Ambassador of Malta to Poland. Today we'll be talking about Europe's changing political and economic landscape, Malta's strategy in finance and digital assets, and why Malta is looking to deepen engagement with Poland at this particular moment. Gavin, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, and hi to your viewers.
Thank you. I understand you have an event today. Can you tell us something about that? What is it? Why are you in Poland? What's going on?
Yes, it's an activity today that orbits around one of our strongest economic pillars, which is finance, financial institutions, financial services. And there are two big players here in Warsaw at the moment in the financial field of Malta, with Finance Malta, and other institutions. And there will be also Maltese players in the financial field. Financial services in Malta has grown exponentially. And what has made it grow exponentially is also because there was always political convergence on this particular pillar of the economy, and that has helped it to grow. And we have been, I would say, on the front line of financial services. And this event that there is today is a particular niche within the financial services, which is a modern niche, which deals with crypto, with asset management, and Malta is doing very well in this particular field.
Can I ask you a question straight away? Why Poland? What's the reason for coming here specifically? Is this part of a broader attempt to somehow engage with other European member states? Are you going to other countries?
No, I think it is significant that Poland has been chosen. I mean, Poland has grown in significance during the last couple of years. I would say over the last decade it has made a big impression to itself as Poland, to European players, but also globally. Today, Poland is a country of relevance, politically speaking, economically speaking, enterprise speaking. So it's no surprise that Maltese operators, Maltese players have chosen Poland as the host venue for this particular event.
But this event is international, is it?
It is European, definitely.
European-wide. So who else are you? Who else is cooperating in the event, or who else? Which other countries?
Maltese will be there, and Polish in the main.
Right.
But I think there will be other players from outside Poland as well.
Right. I understand that Malta has an interesting kind of regulatory history in terms of digital currencies, digital assets, that kind of thing. Deregulated and then regulated. Had some problems in a kind of liquid market a bit earlier on, regulated itself.
Not really. I mean, in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, we took this step in 2018, and we could say the pioneers, and we knew that digital assets were here to stay. So we had a vision. And it's important to have a vision because you can see things coming perhaps before others. After all, we live in a competitive world. And we have come a long way. Now other countries are catching up to a certain extent by making the regulation now. Our strength is in the fact that since we did it in 2018, we helped build the regulation. And it's better to be part of building the regulation than having it imposed on you eventually with time. So I would say the other reason is why we are on the forefront is it's not only a question of being among the first to do it, but drawing deep experience throughout the years. And that is what we have been doing. And like that, you also achieve credibility. And that credibility is witnessed by the fact that there are big key players in the crypto industry who have been attracted to Malta. And more than that, we are drawing on our experience and harnessing the educational aspect. So both the University of Malta, as well as the Malta Financial Services Center, they are harnessing their educational services in this respect. There's a particular center at the University of Malta, particularly dealing with that. And there is also the Malta Financial Supervisors Academy by the Malta Financial Services Authority in order to continue increasing on the skills of the operators and players.
Is there something that Poland offers that Malta can't? I mean, there doesn't seem to be a kind of natural synergy between the two players, or are the two countries?
We were before Poland, but when Poland does something, and now it is becoming a very good player also in this particular sphere, Poland has a reputation of doing things well. So and fast as well. So Malta looks at Poland positively as not only a contributor but also a potential partner in this particular field.
Is there something specific that this event today you want to come out of? You know, is it a networking? You know, an attempt to somehow.
It is always a networking event, but I think that the players, the Maltese players taking part in this activity, are going to inform the partners and the attendees about the advantages, obviously, of it's all about promoting Malta at the end of the day, about the advantages of being in Malta, operating in Malta, because we have a sound regulatory infrastructure and because we have big experience. But we Maltese also like to share our knowledge, our experiences, so that other potential operators, Polish or anyone for that case, might increase their skills in this particular field. So we like sharing our knowledge and our experience.
Can I ask you a bit more generally about the regulatory environment within Europe? We're looking at you know, kind of divergence of opinion over whether or not Europe should be more or less regulated in this sphere. What's Malta's view on that? You know, are you leading the way in terms of
I know what you mean by that. Okay, you mean regulation not only in this regard, but generally speaking.
Well, in terms of financial services, but specifically
yes, smart regulation.
Smart regulation.
Yeah. Smart regulation. I mean, what do we understand by strong regulation? Sometimes strong regulation is misinterpreted as being something robust that sort of has a negative impact on productivity, on competitivity, etc. Having a strong and robust regulatory infrastructure means that you do it smart, and smart means that you do it proportionately. You do it in a neat way, because having a regulatory infrastructure, a proper one, it gives you credibility, and it gives you a strong services sector. So ultimately, yes, regulation is important. It must be there. It must be done smartly.
In terms of the European Union's movement, Malta has a kind of disproportionate influence in Brussels in terms of influencing how the regulatory policy will be implemented, or you know, is that something?
Not really. I mean, what's good about the European Union? The European Union is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of regulation. The European Union is made up of different countries with different realities, with different economics, with diverse restraints, depending also on your geographical position, depending on your size, depending on how open your economy is. So Malta does its job well in the sense that it tries as much as possible, and it has succeeded so far. That is why it is doing very well in the European Union, in order to influence the bigger leaders, being a small country, in order to reach convergence and compromise in the formulation of legislation and in the formulation of solutions. Ultimately, this is what the European Union is all about.
Is there a danger, though, of over-regulating? If we're talking about Europe, this is probably a more general political question, but in the context of increasing competition with the United States, China, and so on, is there a danger of Europe somehow shifting too far towards regulation or towards kind of dangerously unregulated?
There is this impression. Okay, I agree. There is this impression or perception, but ultimately, sometimes when you move, when you have a challenge, and I think that the European Union is good because it starts adapting and adjusting to a challenge. Now, adapting and adjusting can be inferred as being overregulated, being fragmented, which is not the case. It's not a contradiction. It's important that you adjust because change is important. And change comes because there are unforeseen circumstances or challenges that come from time to time. I'll take a leaf from, for instance, COVID-19. The European Union did so well in order to come out of the situation in a very coordinated manner. So I see it happening in other circumstances. So it's a question of the capacity and the ability of adjusting to new situations.
I think we'll come back to that in a second, because I'm interested in your take on what's happening in relation to security, defence, and other aspects of the European project. But if we go back to crypto, is there a danger? You said earlier about crypto is the future, and we need to be on board, and we need to be playing in that field as Europeans, as European member states. Although I'm British, so we're not in anymore. But is there a danger of somehow that the crypto revolution kind of undermining sovereignty, undermining the powers of existing states to regulate? I mean, by definition, cryptocurrencies are, non-sovereign, right? So is there a danger somehow of this being a kind of Trojan horse, perhaps, that will dislocate rather than
I don't see that. There will always be that challenge. And as I said before, sometimes you need the challenge to arrive in order to be able to take the right action. It would be wonderful to always be before the challenge arrives. That is not always possible. However, from the Maltese experience, I would say that we were there before practically everyone else in 2018. That's nearly 10 years, it's been 8 years. And it's been wonderful. A wonderful experience with perhaps a few bumps here and there. And we did that within the context of the European Union and the regulation. I don't see how other countries won't be able to do that, and I can't see that there isn't a smooth future in this particular regard, pan-European.
In terms of crypto as a commodity, though, if we look at it just simply in terms of whether or not it increases the ability of democracies to function or decreases them long term, is that a danger? Do you see a danger in that?
If it happens, yes, but I don't see it happening. I see that crypto is like a shareholding, and I can see nations within the European context, particularly, shareholding in this project. Malta wants to see other countries shareholding positively in this project, because the more other countries take part, irrespective of the competition, the more it can strengthen regulation and more commercial activity in this, and monetary activity in this regard. I'm a very positive person. And the good thing about enterprise in Malta, and because we punch beyond our weight being a small country, is because we have always looked at enterprise in a positive way, in a creative way. We know that there will be challenges, and when the challenges come, and that is what's beautiful about the European Union, is that then together we work together to reach a compromise which respects the specifics of each country, and the project can move forward.
There are similar. I mean, I can understand why a smaller country like Malta would be more interested in, financial services generally, right? So crypto is like the latest iteration, let's say, of, a shift towards deregulated financial services. So there's a danger of, money that is the source of money coming in is not necessarily always clear. There's a danger of dirty money. There's a danger of laundering and so on. The question I have, I guess, is for a country like Malta, a small country, it's almost as if that's the kind of historical identity that Malta has formed in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's between different worlds. It's a kind of a trading point, as it were. The case of Poland is different, right? I mean, Poland is becoming a kind of industrial base, a productive power. Increasingly, taking on the bigger powers historically, Germany and so on. It's taking over some of the productive capacity that the German economy used to have. Is crypto for a country like Poland useful? Do you think?
That is a question to be posed more to the Polish. But if I had to answer that question, I would say that Poland does well in order to diversify. You mentioned that it's becoming a strong industrial base. It's becoming stronger in other aspects, like security, for instance, being the biggest contributor to defense. But it does well in order to diversify. And what we are going to do today at the event, and there will be many Polish actors over there, is because Poland is starting to look in this direction. And why not? What is important is that we have proper regulation, smart regulation, which is arrived at through compromise. And we did it in other areas of the economy in the European Union, and this has worked well. So I commend the Polish that they are going in this direction as well. And that they will be our competitors as well.
Oh, yes, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things also that the Maltese economy...
And competition serves you in order to always try to improve your service and your product.
Yeah. Can we talk about maybe more broader geopolitical things?
Yes, sure.
The connection, the issue of Polish defence spending, for example, security within Europe. What's Maltese position on, kind of European defence force? Is there one? Is there support for that kind of idea? And how do you read the thinking in Brussels?
Okay, separate the issue of Ukraine, the war of Ukraine, and the question of defence. Okay, the European Union seems to be now more assertive on defence. I spoke before about the challenge must arrive before you move. So there is this war in Ukraine because of the war of aggression by Russia. And the European Union, various countries are taking preventive measures through military spend. Poland is at the very top. Now, Malta is constitutionally neutral. And we cannot, by law, contribute militarily. But security cannot be looked at restrictively. Security includes defense, but more than that, there is humanitarian measures, resilience. Malta does very well to contribute in those. So I would say that Poland is taking a very relevant and more visible position in this particular respect. I would also say, I would add, if you would permit me, sorry I'm being a bit long on this, but despite its constitutional restraints, because of its neutrality, Malta has navigated very well the waters, even with big players, Malta took a very vocal position against Russia on the Ukraine war, and it made that position very clear in the very successful way it presided the Security Council of the United Nations 2 years ago, in the way it presided the Organization of Security and Cooperation of Europe, the OSCE, and last year the presidency of the Council of Europe. And we also advocated always that there must always be the pursuit of a just peace, a lasting peace, and respect for fundamental human rights and freedoms. Because if there is war, there can be no fundamental rights and freedoms. And we did well from that perspective, and so we are contributing from that perspective to the wider dimension of security and defense in Europe.
Can I ask you also about Israel and the Middle East? What's the Maltese take, and what's your position on?
Malta has always been a supporter of Palestinian homeland.
Right.
We support the two-state solution. It has always been that. Having said that, we have very good relations with Israel. Israel respects our position. And so we have very good relations with Palestine and with Israel.
Right.
However, having said that, we are strong supporters of the Palestinian cause, and we want Palestinians to have their home.
Widening it a little bit more, is there a danger that that Europe is being kind of divided by a kind of combination of American foreign policy and its closeness to Russia? Is that something that the Europeans need to be aware of? Is that something that you think is important, particularly in the context of the war in Ukraine? The Americans seem to be turning away from Europe. Trump's policy in relation to troops, for example, stationed in Germany and so on.
I would say that the situation is unpredictable. Sometimes it changes on a daily basis. What I consider happened from a purely defense perspective, which might be positive from the European Union defense perspective, is that Europe has become more assertive in regard to its defense. It doesn't necessarily now look at the United States as the only guarantor of security, but it wants to build up its own security in order to be independent. I don't see anything wrong with that, or how it influences its relations with the United States. It's a fact that the EU is being more assertive, and Poland is leading in this regard because it is spending nearly 5% of its GDP, which is unprecedented. Yeah, and it is leading other European partners in this particular respect.
Can I ask you also, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but there's a kind of, what happens in 5-10 years, the kind of post-war, if there is a post-war scenario in Ukraine vis-a-vis Russia, how do you envisage the European Union positioning itself in relation to Ukraine, and therefore also in relation to Russia? Will the European project be essentially defensive, offensive? You know, if Europe is rebuilding itself, its security frameworks, its productive capacity.
It's a bit speculative because we don't know how the war is going to end, when the war is going to end. What I can say is that, because it's a fact, that the European Union is looking at the recovery of Ukraine, so much so that here in Poland, again, which bolsters its credibility and its visibility on the international stage, it will be holding the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk, where all the major actors, European actors, will be taking part in this conference of how to help Ukraine recover after the war. So I see the European Union anticipating and preparing itself in order to help Ukraine recover. And that is going to happen in, if I'm not mistaken, in June,
right,
in Gdansk.
Can we move away? I'll move away from geopolitics and more difficult. What about your relationship personally with Poland? You've been here for how long? Can you tell us something about?
I've been, yes.
About your relationship?
Thank you for this question. Yes, I'm very happy to be here in Poland. It's been a year and a half nearly now since I presented my credentials to the former president, Andrzej Duda. I like saying this about Poland. I was here in Poland before in my other life as president of the Malta Tourism Authority, before I became ambassador. So I know Warsaw and I know Poland before. For a while. And I have been seeing Poland transforming itself incredibly. I mean, I go to Centrum when I'm free in the weekend, and I look at in the direction of Norblina, and I see those towering skyscrapers. And for me, that is a statement of economic resurgence and economic might. Remember that in 1945, Warsaw was razed to the ground. There not one stone on top of the other. And they have made the city vibrant again. It's incredible. And even after they came out of the Soviet influence, then the resurgence was even faster. And Malta and Poland joined the European Union together in 2004. And the European experiment has been very important, both for Malta and Poland. I have seen Poland grow in the European Union and taking a leading role.
Final question. What's your favorite thing about Poland? Just
the pierogi.
Pierogi, okay.
No, besides the culinary aspect, I like Polish food. I respect very much the Polish discipline and their sense of innovation, and also their sense of humor. They've got a very subtle sense of humor too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Me too, thank you. Okay, so that's all for today, and we'll catch you another time. Okay, thank you, bye-bye.